What's up, you guys? Welcome back to our channel. It's me, Vida. As you guys can see, I'm by myself today. Ronnie and the girls actually went to the beach. Yes, to the beach without me. And I'm home alone, and I thought, okay, well, this is a perfect time to do the vlog that you guys have been asking for a really long time. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of let's talk to you guys today and give you guys a little background and stuff of things that I've gone through. Um, but don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our channel, and make sure you click the little bell button so that way you can be notified every time we post a new video. Ronnie and Lonnie and Danny, they went to the beach today because I'm actually, and I'll do a whole video like on this, but I'm actually going to be having weight loss surgery. And so my classes are today, and so there was no way that I would be able to go to the beach. It just wouldn't make sense, like, to go for an hour and then ruin their time and stuff. And so Ronnie took the girls out and I'm home. And so I was going to go ahead and get into the topic. I put up a little questionnaire thing or a little question thing like on Instagram or whatever. And a lot of you guys were interested if I were to just talk about like things that I've gone through and things that I've faced throughout my journey as being a mom, being a wife, and just being, we were very involved in our church and things like that. And so through everything, I'm gonna kind of start from the beginning and give you guys a little background. And the topics that I'm gonna be talking about is like a lot about my health, about PCOS, endometriosis, lupus. I've been diagnosed with so many things, and I don't talk about them often. I don't like to really like consider myself sick or consider myself ill. A lot of people that know me know that, and a lot of people know that I am sick. But one thing about me is like I will be like, I'm fine, I'm good, and I'll push through and I'll just kind of do whatever. But then I exhaust myself and then I'm out for the count. But one thing is that I always try to stay positive no matter what the doctors say, because I know who my physician is, and I know that healing is on its way. When, I don't know, but I know that it's coming. So let's backtrack to growing up. Like, I was always normal, as far as like I was always normal, like I was always like healthy. I didn't have any issues growing up, other than like certain things that I did go through when I was younger, obviously, like with my menstrual cycle and things like that. I pretty much faced a horrible like cycle every month. But to me, I thought I was just normal, and that's just the way that it was going to be for me. It started when I was 11 years old, and then up until I turned 17 is when I first had my first like I was actually in Bible college in the UTC, and when I was out there, I started to get really sick. I started to get really like my joints, my ankles, my legs, like everything was swollen. And I just was like, what? This is weird. I thought maybe because of the heat and because of where I was at, like that's why I was like that. But come to find out that it wasn't that. The doctors at first were kind of like, oh, it's your sodium and this and that, and and then a little after that, I'm gonna go like backtrack to that so that way you guys can get like the rundown of how I've been diagnosed and how I've faced things. And so back then they were just kind of like, well, it's just watch your sodium intake and and stuff like that. So after that though, I like stopped having a menstrual cycle, and I thought, okay, maybe it was because I was in the UTC, and you know how they say like when girls get around girls and your cycle messes up, and I was living with like, I don't know, 20 other girls and stuff, and so I thought maybe that's what it was. But it just never really came back normal. And so I faced that for many years, where it would be normal, I would get it for 1 month and then I would skip it for like 6 months, sometimes a year. And it would just be like non-existent. And so I was 19 once I got married. And when I got married when I was 19 years old, I started to experience it a lot different. And right when we got married, I actually ended up having gallbladder surgery. And they removed my gallbladder. I had gallstones, and so they removed my gallbladder. Um, but then when I got married, everything just like, it was like we went through so much stuff, and one of my health issues were a big part of what we went through. And immediately, probably like, well, right away, my husband's mom passed away, and that was something we had went through. I got pregnant um, right when we got married, and so um, I was about six 6 or 7 weeks with that one, and I think yeah, it was about 6 or 7 weeks, and then I miscarried. And it was funny because like before then I was like, no, I don't want kids. I don't like, that's not my, like, I don't do good with kids. Like, no, I don't want kids. My husband, on the other hand, loves kids, and he's always said like he's wanted a lot of kids. And I was like, no, dude, that's not me. Like, I don't want kids. Anyways, I had my first miscarriage, and I'm like, just kidding, Jesus, I really do want kids. And I was just like, okay, like, it's just, you know, so that happens to some women, and it's gonna be fine. So when I had that miscarriage, after that, probably a few months later, and in between that, his mom passed away, his uncle passed away, and we're going through like other things as well. And so on top of all of that, okay, like kind of giving you guys a background here, and we had like 2 months later conceived again, and maybe was it 2 months later, maybe a little bit longer, but I got pregnant again right away, and I think I was probably 8 weeks with it. Like every one like went a little bit further. And with this one, and mind you, at this time, I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know, like, other than the doctor telling me, oh, you need to watch your sodium intake and you're completely normal and you're fine, you know? And so, at that point, after the second one, I was like, dang, okay, like, and my husband has always been so supportive and so like, it's okay, like, it's fine, it's, you know, you're gonna be fine, and it's God's will. And I've never really been the type, like, don't get me wrong, like, I totally, and I'm gonna get into this in a minute, but I know miscarriage is a hard thing, and I know that a lot of women take it really, really hard. And I think for me, being so young at the time and being so like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know like, oh, this is could, you know, affect my health or anything like that. And so when that all took place, I think I was just so naive to what was really going on that I thought I'll be fine. It's just I'm young and this is something that happened. And so I got pregnant again, and I think it was, I don't know, maybe like a year later or something like that. It was like they were gapped. I know that for sure. It was like 2 back to back, then one, and then I had the other one. And so once after the third one, the doctors start kind of telling you, okay, something isn't right here, you know? And I had went in for having really, really bad pelvic pain. One day I just started to get this really sharp pain in my uterus and my pelvic area. And I was just like, what in the world is this? I felt like, I mean, I've never gone through labor, but at that moment I felt like I was in labor. And mind you, I've had very like crazy menstrual cycles and stuff like that before. So I was like, this is weird. Like, this isn't the same, you know? And I've always had cramps, and I've had to put the heating pad and do all this crazy stuff. Like, and not go to school because I was in so much pain, and not like drastic, you know, some girls like fake it so that they don't have to go to school. No, I legit like would have cramps all down my legs, all in my back. Like it was horrible. And so this was way worse, and I'm like, this is not normal. And so I started to get those little episodes, and it would go down my legs to the point where I couldn't walk. I literally was like in so much pain, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. They kept saying, we don't know what's wrong, this and that, maybe it's this, that. Next thing you know, I go in for a doctor appointment, and they're like, you know what, you have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Those of you who don't know what it is, it's where you can develop like cysts on your ovaries, and then it causes like a lot of just a lot of side effects. As so from being 18 years old when I started to get sick, up until here I am 10 years later, which, remember in the beginning I said I'm having weight loss surgery. I think I said that in this video. I don't know. I remember I was quoting another, but I think I'm having weight loss surgery this month, and that's why I'm not with my kids today. Anyways, yeah. And so I, for the past 10 years, have gained probably about 80 pounds. And I literally found out like when I was 18 years old, and then after like I started getting sick, I just started gaining all kinds of weight, and I thought, I'm gaining weight because I'm just got married. You know, they say you're happy, you get gain weight and stuff. And so that's what I thought why I was gaining weight, you know, until I started to find out what was wrong with me and my research and everything. And so with PCOS, you gain weight. With PCOS, you get the unwanted facial hair. You don't have your menstrual cycles all the time. It's very painful. You have your hormones are just out of whack, and so I had that, but I didn't really have. A lot of times women get cysts on their ovaries, and that's what causes it, multiple cysts, you know. And I didn't really have that. I had the condition, but with no cyst on my ovaries. So they said, you know what, we're gonna check if you have endometriosis. And I've had probably 4 surgeries for my endometriosis. And they've gone in and they do like an examination where they go in, and because they can only see it if they go in. They don't see it on CAT scans, they don't see it on ultrasounds, they don't see it anywhere else unless they go in. And so they've gone in several times to remove the endometriosis. The first time they went in, they said they only seen a little bit. I mean, a tiny little bit. And he's like, I don't think this is the cause of what your pain is from. But I'm diagnosed with endometriosis, okay? But I don't have a lot of scar tissue. So I have PCOS, the condition, but I don't have a lot of cysts. I have endometriosis, but I don't have a lot of scar tissue, okay? But I have all the conditions that are with those diseases and those illnesses. And so a lot of it, when you have endometriosis and PCOS, a lot of women have either or a lot of women have them combined. And when you have them, it affects your fertility. And so I came to find out, okay, this is probably why I am miscarrying. This is probably why I've been going through what I've been going through as far as that. And so I started to see my OBGYN, and also other doctors, because I was just like, and so with those episodes of the pain, I would literally, and I still get these episodes, but the way that my doctor explained it to my husband for him to understand, and it's exactly the truth, and I'm gonna explain it to you guys like that. It's basically where my body went into, like, it's like if I was going into labor but with no baby. So I was having all these labor pains. Remember I said like I felt like I was in labor? Well, I was like, I was having these excruciating pains, and it was unbearable. It is unbearable when it happens, and it's never like, I'm not like gradually gaining, like getting, you know, like symptoms of the pain or like, and it just comes on like instantly. It's like just in pain. And so my doctor explained it like that to my husband. And for the past 7 years, I've been facing this. Um, I have it sometimes really, really bad, and they're like back to back, a few days at a time. Then I'll have a break, and then it'll be like, it's crazy. And so I have, in the meantime, have managed to like try to continue life with these symptoms and these things that I'm having, that I really don't have an explanation for what is wrong. And so through all of that, so I was probably about, let me see, probably, so we had our first miscarriages 19 to like 21, 20, like 20. And then for like 5 years straight, we did not conceive at all. There was no conception whatsoever. And we were very involved in our church, and we helped a lot with, actually with the children's ministry, and then also with a junior high ministry. So children were in our life all the time. I've always been the tia, and Ronnie has always been the uncle that's like, we have our nieces and nephews with us all the time. They always wanted to be with us and stuff, and we just gravitated towards children. We loved children. We still do love children. And I think that I learned that through my miscarriages, and I developed a love for children and for kids that I didn't know that I had. Because mind you, like I said before, I was like, oh, I don't do good with kids and this and that, which the one thing I don't do good with is infants. Like, if you're not my baby, I'm not like, I'm talking about like newborns. Like, it's just not my thing. But I just grew a love for children through what I had been going through. And I was like, okay, God, like, and I would have my moments where I, like, during that 5-year period, and that's where I said I was going to get into like talking about that, is where I think was probably some of the roughest years of our life. I feel like every year is one of the roughest years. We've gone through so much stuff. It's crazy, you guys. Like, me and my husband have gone through so much stuff. I can be here forever going over just advice and things that we've gone through. But what I mean by one of the roughest years is that when you really desire to have a child, and you really desire to be a parent, and you know that you'd be a great parent. For my husband, I remember his biggest thing was like, he waited so long to be with a woman and to be with somebody that was going to be the mother of his children. And I remember him expressing that to me, and I remember feeling like, am I not like gonna be able to give this to him? Am I not gonna be able to give him what his heart desires? And I remember feeling like, okay, God, like, I need you to speak to me. I need you to let me know that I am still good enough. Like, it doesn't make me less than a woman because I'm having these complications. It doesn't make me less than a wife because I can't have a child, right? When you think you're going to get pregnant, or when you think about having children, for some reason, when we're younger, I don't know, at least I did, you think like, oh, when I'm ready to have a kid, I'm just going to, be with my husband, and then boom, I'm going to be pregnant. And now my advice is to everybody, like, I always tell people who are not married and that are getting married or dating, and I tell them all the time, like, get checked, make sure you're, like, on track with everything, be proactive. And like, it could be 5 years from now that you're trying to have a kid, but be proactive, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to come your way. And so I remember feeling those emotions and feeling like, I don't know, like, what to do. I don't know how to, because after the third miscarriage, my husband took it really hard. And I think I was always kind of like, oh, I'm okay, And I think the part that hurts the most is when you announce a pregnancy and you let your friends know, or you let people know that you love. And then you got to be like, oh, I had a miscarriage, you know, or people you don't see for a while and they're like, oh my gosh, where's the baby? I had that happen to me all the time because of where we, like, our church where we're involved. And when I would see people that I hadn't seen for a while from at conventions or retreats or whatever, and then they're like, you had a baby, right? Like, where's your baby? Or, you know, and you're just like, oh no, like and I would get awkward. Like, I'd be like, no, like, I don't, oh no, like, we lost the baby. Or I don't know. Like, I would just get so awkward because it's the hardest thing to face. Like, it's the hardest thing to be like, sorry, my camera got cut off because I was, I don't know, my phone started ringing for something. But I think, yeah, it was the hardest thing to let people know, like, oh, sorry, like, not even sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. I got distracted, sorry. But yeah, like, it was really hard to let people know that we were no longer having a child, or we didn't have the child. And so during that 5 years, we just really put our heart into just our life and doing ministry in our church and loving on other children. At that time, I know you guys know Cubby. During that time, Cubby came into our life too. And so I felt like he came into our life for me. Now I understand, even not just him, but so many others who came into our life. I know that they were sent for me to understand now that I know that God has gifted me to love children that are not my own. God has gifted me to, and my mom would always tell me, you're like a mother hen. Like, you just always, like, you like act like a little mom and this and that. And now I know why. And I know that it's because of what God has done in my life. And not anybody can do it. It's a really different journey to go on. And I remember during this time, like, I would question myself and I would think, God, like, I've made many mistakes in my life. And I think the hardest thing is when you make mistakes and you do things that are not pleasing before the Lord, or just not right or whatever, and you are young and dumb and you do things, I would even think, like, is this a consequence of my actions? Is this a consequence of what I've done? But I know that God is merciful and God is gracious. He's a forgiving God. And I know that that's just not how God is, you know? I don't believe that. I don't never once. And I went through a hard time explaining this to my husband because he, mind you, we were in the church and we were very involved. And we always have been involved in our church, our ministry and everything. But he was so empty. And we would battle because he would tell me that he was so mad at God, and because of this, because of not being able to have a child and not being able to conceive and, you know, give him the desire of his heart. Like, my husband's biggest desire in life, you guys, is to be a father. Like, that, like, above anything else, like, I feel like, and oh my God, is he amazing. Like, he's an amazing father. And I remember, like, thinking and telling him, like, this is not God's fault. Like, this is not, God did not, this is something we have to go through, and we have to embrace the journey that God has us on. Like, we could never blame God. We could never blame God for this. And during those 5 years of just desiring and going through all the emotions of seeing people pregnant, and then people who have no business being pregnant, and you're just like, oh my God, inside of me, like, or people coming, oh yeah, I'm pregnant, and they're so happy, and then it's just like, they don't know what you feel inside. They don't know, like, what's really, like, and you desire so bad to have a child and you can't, and you have no explanation why, and then they're complaining, you know. um I went through all of those emotions inside me and never once would tell anybody. Never once would tell people. Like, I didn't walk around with my emotions on the outside of me. I don't think I ever really do. I'm not the type of person that like will let you know, like, oh, you know, I'm feeling this way or that way or whatever. And I would still be like, oh, congratulations or whatever, but inside I'd be dying. Like, you have no idea how bad I desire to have a child. You have no idea what I go through, not just in the emotions of wanting a child, but physically. I was sick, physically, and I'm gonna get to why I was. Those are the things that I mentioned that they said that I had wrong, but I really didn't know the extent of what was really wrong with me. Um, so 5 years go by, and we actually went out on Valentine's Day. And for some reason, well, actually, we would always be with the youth. I would always be with girls on Valentine's Day because I would always feel like I know how girls are when they're lonely and this and that. And so I would do events for them and stuff like that. And so this year we went to City Walk with some of the youth from our church. And I just was like, I remember even telling the girls that we were with, like, dude, I don't know, I feel weird. Like, I felt like I could be pregnant or something. And they're like, dude, check. Oh my God, check. But mind you, during all those years, I've taken multiple, I mean, test after test after test after test, praying that it would be a positive pregnancy test. And I would be let down every time. And so a pregnancy test was not an exciting thing for me. It was almost like I would dread taking a pregnancy test because I was like, it's not going to come back positive. Like, it's not, there's no way it's going to come back positive. Well, that was on Valentine's Day. In the middle of the night, which usually this is when it happens, I started to get really bad pain. And I ended up in the ER that night. My husband took me to the hospital, and the nurse nonchalantly comes. They do their thing like they do every time, and you know, whatever. Mind you, I've been in the hospital, oh my gosh, you guys don't want to know how many times. She comes in nonchalant. Oh, did they let you know? She goes, they told you that you're pregnant, right? And just walks away. And we're like, wait, what? Like, what? And she's like, yeah, they didn't tell you that you're pregnant? And I was like, no. And I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, honey, you're pregnant. And I was like, immediately just looked at my husband and we start crying. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, we've been trying to have a baby, like, and I started telling her, we've been trying to have a baby for almost 7 years. And I was like, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how is this possible, you know? And so, yeah, and she's like, you are pregnant. Look, I'll bring you your test. And she's crying and she's so excited for us and everything. And yeah, and then they said that I was pregnant. That was in February, and I want to 2016. Yeah, 2016 February. And we were so excited, and we thought, this is it. This is our miracle baby. This is it. God did a miracle. Everybody was excited. We were excited. I couldn't, like, I get what they say, like, don't say anything for the 3 months. And I recommend that to anybody. But when you're so excited and you've waited so long, the reason I would say something is because I feel like I'm a firm believer in your words are everything. And if I was to act afraid or to be in fear that something could go wrong, like, I feel like I was already claiming that over my child's life. So I was like, no, like, it is what it is, and whatever God's plan is, that's God's plan. So I'm not gonna worry about that. Like, let's rejoice while we can. And we were so excited. Everybody was excited. We were so happy. I went to my checkup. This is already 3 months in, and I went to my checkup, and it was an ultrasound that visit, and the doctor was like, you know what? She was like, I'll be right back. She comes back in, and she brings somebody else with her, and they check again, and they're like, yeah, no. And I'm just like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Because I had no symptoms whatsoever of anything being wrong. I felt very pregnant. I was sick all the time. I, it was just, I felt pregnant. And she was like, there's no heartbeat. And I was just, and she was kind of very like, yeah, there's no heartbeat. Sorry, honey. Like, you know, and this, and I'm just like, no, like, you don't understand what we've gone through. Like, you don't know what we've been through. And she was like, you can go get a second opinion if you want at the ER or anything, but she's like, there's no heartbeat. And so they do your blood test and they check your things every day and all of that. And when I went to the hospital, they told me the same thing. At that point, I was like, God, how can this happen? Like, we've waited so long. You give us the child and then you take it back. Like, why? And I remember, like, after this one, I was so broken. I locked myself in my house for 3 days, and I didn't talk to not a soul. People would call me and I would reject their call. My mom would call me, I'd reject her call. My family would call me. Me and my husband were going through this silently. Nobody knew. People were still messaging me like about the baby and asking me how I'm feeling and this and that. And I was just a mess. Like, I was literally in bed and in my house, just literally praying for 3 days for a miracle. And I was like, God, please turn this around. Like, I was literally praying that it would be wrong and that I didn't want to tell my family because I felt like they didn't have to know because a miracle could happen. And on the 3rd day, God spoke to me and God told me, like, that that it was his plan, that this too was his plan. And even through heartache, and that even through going through things that we don't understand and that hurt us, is to God's plan. And I had this overwhelming peace because I've always prayed for God's will in my life. And so when I had that feeling of just feeling like, okay, God, like, this is your will. It's okay. This is your will. You allowed me to experience it this far as a promise. And that's the way I looked at it. Like, he was like, this is what I have for you, because I was so frustrated at that time. And he was like, I do have a child for you. It is coming and this excitement will be there, but it's just not yet. And I was like, oh God, like, okay, Lord, like, I can do this and it's okay. And nobody, like, we're good. Like, I will get through this. And 5 minutes later, after that, mind you, I hadn't talked to anybody. Everybody was wondering what was wrong with me, like, why I wasn't answering them and stuff. And I just knew it had to be me and God. My mom comes pounding on my door and she's knocking, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm literally crying, bawling, because God had just spoke to me. And she's like, what's wrong? What's going on? When I opened the door, and I let her know, and she just held me. We cried. And I told her, but it's okay. It's God's will. And she was like, that's right. It's God's will. You're going to be fine. And I had to make a decision if I wanted to pass the baby, if they could induce labor, or I could have them remove the baby. And so I chose to have surgery for them to remove the baby, because I just didn't want to go through everything. Like I said, I didn't have any symptoms of having a miscarriage. It's actually called a silent miscarriage. So you don't know that you're miscarrying. And when that happened, I was like, no, like, I just want to have the surgery and be done. And so we did. And I did that. And so, yeah, so I have 4 beautiful babies in heaven that one day I know I will meet. Um, and I know that for whatever purpose, God had us go through that. And a year later, not even a year later, did I know, and this can take forever, and I know I've already been talking forever, and I'll do another video because I just don't want to keep going, like make this video so long. But almost a year later, we went into our adoption with Leilani. And like I said, this is why I was like, I'm gonna make this like kind of like a series because it's so long and there's so much to it. I'll be going into the next step of where I found, well, we're gonna adopt our baby, and which was totally unplanned. I had just had my miscarriage. I opened up a business, and I got a dog to try to take my mind off of all of that. And I was really trying to move past it and to see, okay, what does God have for us, you know? And a year later, when Leilani was, my sister was pregnant, and I'll do a whole, like I said, I'm not going to really get into detail with it because it'll take forever if I tell you guys her whole story and everything. But when that happened, before that, people were like, well, what about adoption? Because like I said, people knew that we were trying to have a baby and stuff. And it just wasn't an option for me. I'm like, it's not the same. It's not going to be the same. Like, I don't know if I can love a baby that is not mine. I don't know if I would. I was not open to it wasn't even a thought really in my mind. Like, the only time it was talked about when somebody would bring it up to me, you know? Me and my husband never even discussed adoption, ever. Like, ever. We never talked about adoption. And we never discussed it or anything. And oh my God, was that the will of God? Like, it's amazing to me how you can love a child so much. Like, I forget that I didn't give birth to my children. Like, it's just crazy to me. So fast forward, I have Leilani. During that time, I'm still very sick. They don't know what's wrong with me. I am constantly vomiting. I get these really bad pains, all these things throughout this whole time. And I'm just going to kind of, so you guys know what the next topics are going to be. I adopt Leilani. After I adopt Leilani, we are so happy. We go through the whole process of the CPS case and all of that stuff, which I will get into detail with how adoption works and how we did that and how all of that stuff happened. But we did our first case and we adopted my niece. Leilani is biologically my niece. And she's our miracle baby. She is a miracle, you guys. And I know that obviously God brought her into our life, and she's, oh my God. And she's our little miracle. And then a year later, during that time I get sick. She fulfilled our hearts so much that I was tired of being in pain and tired of being sick in the hospital and all these things. And so we decided to go with my hysterectomy. My hysterectomy was something that they wanted to do back when I was 19 years old. And I think I forgot to mention that. They were like, well, this is the only thing that we can kind of do. And I was just like, no, we desired to have a child so much that I'm like, no, there's no way I'm going to have a hysterectomy. And once we had Leilani, our hearts were so fulfilled, and we knew that we were content that we finally went through. And I didn't want to make a decision without my husband's approval. If he still wanted to try to have children and see if that was still God's plan for our life and stuff. And we were both in agreement that we were content, we were happy, we didn't lack nothing anymore. We did not lack anything. And we knew that this was God's will. And so we went through with it, and I had my hysterectomy. And the same week, I'm not kidding you guys, the same week that I had a hysterectomy, we found out that we would be taking in Danny. The same week. I was losing my womb, but God was giving me more than I could imagine, and more than I deserved, and more than anything in this world can offer, as far as anything. And it amazes me how God works. And yeah, and so we adopted, of course, Danny. You guys saw the video last night, which that's going to be another part to that video where we're going to vlog a little bit more and stuff like that. But I'm going to get into more detail of their stories and things after that. And it'll get into where I was diagnosed with lupus about 2 years ago, when my last really bad episode, which was around the time I had my hysterectomy, when they diagnosed me with lupus, and that is really the cause of everything that I've gone through. And on top of that, I have hypothyroid. So I had, like I said, I have all these things that affect your weight. So that is why I'm having weight loss surgery. And I am praying that it's going to be the best decision of my life to gain my health back and to be healthy. And I have lost weight recently. I have been doing juicing and doing celery juices and things, and not planned at all. I just was like, my mom did it for her health and it worked for her, and I've heard so many good things about it. I'm like, I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna juice, with no intention of thinking I was gonna lose weight or anything. And I did. I've lost almost 20 pounds. And so I'm on my way, guys. I'm on my way. And I'm really excited about it because I know that God has so much more in store, and I want to be healthy for my children. I want to be a mom that, I don't know, like, I just feel like the enemy has tried to rob me for so long of being able to do a lot of things, and my health has held me back from a lot of stuff. I try not to let it, but it has. And I'm so ready to just like break out of it and just be free and believe that God is going to completely heal me. And so, yeah. And so I will get into all of that stuff of how I was diagnosed, the symptoms of the lupus, and I will get into more stuff about adoption. But I wanted this first one so you guys can kind of get where it started, where my health journey started. The miscarriages was the first topic that I really wanted to go over, and discuss PCOS and endometriosis. And yeah, and so the next video that I will do will be going into adoption, and it's going to be amazing. It is amazing. And thank you guys for watching and hearing me talk. I can't believe I've been on the camera this long talking, because you guys, this is why it's taken me so long to do this, because I feel weird. Like, I feel weird talking to a camera. So, but you guys, like, so I know if this is for one person, to help one person and to give them hope that there is so much that God can do in your life. And if you feel like you're at the end, and if you feel like you are struggling with your fertility treatments, or maybe you're not even in fertility treatments, or you're not even there yet, but you know that you have problems with having a miscarriage, or with your health, or different things, if this can help one person, then I did my job. And I went through, and I always say, like, whatever I go through in life, as long as it helps one person, then it was worth it. It was worth it for me. All the pain, all the heartache, all the worrying and wondering, and the nights of feeling like, gosh, this has affected me in so many ways. Even to the point where I didn't want to be intimate with my husband. I didn't want to do things like that, because I felt like, for what? Like, and although that is not the only reason why I'm married, you should be intimate with your husband. But for me, going through this and not conceiving and not having a child and miscarrying and all these things, those were things that I went through. And I remember not talking to anybody. Nobody. I had nobody to talk to about it. Besides maybe the closest people to me who knew that I was struggling and what I went through. But even at that, it wasn't, they weren't pregnant, and they didn't go through miscarriages, and they didn't go through the loss of, losing a child or anything like that. So If this can help somebody, I am here. And I want to help in whatever way that I can. And I know that God will use this to help somebody. So I know that, yeah, so I don't know. Okay, I'm just like rambling now. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And like I said, I will post the next video. I will promise you guys I will try to do it within the next couple days. But it'll be up shortly, I promise. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, guys. I know I keep saying it. Please subscribe. I know you're watching this video and you're not subscribed. We know who you are. Just kidding. But please subscribe for my girls too. They love this stuff, you guys. They're like so into it, and it's so funny to me. But we love you guys. See you guys soon. And yeah, have a blessed day. Peace out.